Welcome to today's episode. Today we are talking about the difference between building a brand versus building a following on social media as a boxer. And some of you guys may think that building a brand and building a following is the same thing, or if you're building a following, that means that you were also building a brand. That is not always true, and in today's podcast, we will be breaking down the difference between a brand and a following. Some of you guys take this approach to social media that is trying to maximize the amount of followers you get, which I understand why people do that, but there's definitely some cons to doing that, and there's pros and cons to building a brand versus building a following. But most boxers try to get as many followers as possible, but that is not what brings the income. And so in this episode, I will be differentiating between building a brand and building a following. So like I just said, a brand and a following comes with its own sets of pros and cons, and this is why you may see boxers, maybe amateurs, maybe even professional boxers who have 50,000, 100,000 followers, but they're not really making that much money. And you wouldn't know that because you just assume that, they have these followers, there must be money as well. But it's not always the case. And there's two problems that I see with trying to just build a following and maximize the amount of followers you get. First is that building a following does not automatically mean you'll make money, which is what I just said. And second, trying to go viral is like gambling. And I don't want your guys' success to depend on virality because you can't really control whether you go viral or not. Even if you make amazing content, great boxing content, someone else who's doing way worse or makes way worse content than you may get more exposure than you just because the algorithm is just unfair sometimes. And I don't want you guys to gamble with your success. I want you guys to have a route to success that is more predictable, more sturdy, and does not depend on luck. So to help you guys understand what I'm talking about, I want to explain what characterizes a following. So a lot of people on social media, a lot of boxers, when you go on, you may see that they post like shadow boxing clips, or they post clips of sparring, or they might put like a caption over it. They put these trendy audios over their videos. They try to make this pretty content that's like, it's like the social media viral TikTok content, which I understand why people do this. And I'm not even saying it's a bad thing to do. I think that is better than doing nothing. But at the end of the day, that does not produce a brand. It does not create a brand. You're trying to build a following, but there's really nothing special about your content. There's no value to your content, and nobody really remembers who you are when they see that content. But this content might go viral. You might get 150,000 views on one of these videos, and you'll gain some followers. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really help build your name or build your credibility, and it's not really helping you make more money by making this content. And I think that most boxers, when they make this content, they do it because when they go pro, they think they'll be able to sell tickets to these guys or something like that. But these people aren't really getting attached to you. They watch your content because it's entertaining, but at the end of the day, they're not really connected to you as an individual. What I believe is that as boxers, we should not be trying to create content that maximizes the amount of followers we get, but we should make content that elevates our brands and allows us to make money. And I think that creating content just to create a following is vain because that does not produce really any benefit, unless you're trying to just build your name. If you're trying to just build your name and become more popular on social media, then I guess you could take this route, but I don't think that's a really smart route to take. I think that if you're trying to use social media to create an extra source of income or to build your brand as a boxer, that's wise. But if you're just going to make these random TikToks with these trendy audios, trying to go viral and get favored by the algorithm, I don't think that that's really beneficial. I think you're wasting your time, and that time would probably be better spent in the gym still. But when you're trying to build a brand, I think that it's really powerful and really profitable to work on building your brand alongside boxing and training. And some people, they think that if they just grow a large enough following that it will be easy to monetize that following, but that is not true. And I would argue that it's easier to monetize a small brand than it is to monetize a large following. And you may think, Jalen, what are you talking about? But once I explain to you the difference between a brand and a following, you're going to be like, wow, I wish I would have thought about it this way sooner. And if you don't believe me, by the end of the podcast, you will believe me. And so before I start telling you what a brand is, let me share another major problem with building a following. Like I said earlier, when you're making these random posts, it's just a clip of you shadow boxing or some trendy boxing post or whatever, these people are not becoming connected to you. They find you entertaining for the time being, but they don't find you valuable. They don't really find you captivating. They're not really looking forward to seeing your posts. They might get a laugh from your video. They might even double tap it, but at the end of the day, they're not becoming a fan of you. They don't want to keep up with what you do or keep up with your boxing career. They might not even recognize you if they saw you out in public. And this is because when you create content for followers, when you create content that is just for followers, once they scroll away, they forget about you. They look at you and they remember you for the 15 seconds that you're on their screen. Then they just scroll away. They forget about you, and you're just in the back of their memory bank, and eventually they just forget about you. And so they'll watch your content when it comes up in their feed, but they don't go out looking for your content. And some of you guys don't really care that much. I understand that. So I'm speaking as if you guys are all full-time content creators, and that's not what I'm trying to tell you guys to be. But if you're trying to use social media, I want you to do it right and do it in a way that leads to profit and that turns your social media into an asset. If you're just wasting, like, for example, I have like 40,000 followers on TikTok and I made $0 from it because I was just building a random miscellaneous following. I wasn't really developing a brand. And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. I'm trying to get too much out at one time. Let me just slowly keep explaining it. So now, what is a brand? The most simple way to describe a brand comes from Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi says that a brand is a deliberate pairing of two things, which I'm going to expand on that because it makes no sense if I leave it at just that. An amazing example of a brand is Apple. Apple is paired with innovation. Or Nike. Nike is paired with motivation and also paired with athletics. Now, there's also personal brands. A controversial personal brand is Andrew Tate. So some people, Andrew Tate is paired with misogyny or with human trafficking, but with other people, Andrew Tate is paired with success or masculinity. But a random boxing TikToker who posts random boxing reels of him shadow boxing or something random, he is paired with nothing. He's paired with nothing. And his followers only care about him for 15 seconds. When the video pops up on their feed, they care. When they scroll away, they just forget about it. You don't want to be the person that's paired with nothing. You want to be paired with something. Now, I'm not telling you to take the Andrew Tate route, but it's better to be paired negatively with some people and paired very positively with other people than to be paired with nothing by nobody. I think Floyd Mayweather is a good example about this. There's people that love Floyd Mayweather, then there's people that love to hate Floyd Mayweather. But either way, they watch the fights. We all know that Conor McGregor is the same way, but in the UFC. And I believe you guys will get what I'm getting at here. But basically, you want people to associate you with something that they desire. This is how you build a brand. When I'm hungry, but I'm also short on time, I might go to McDonald's because I have paired McDonald's with convenience. I've paired McDonald's with fast food. So when I'm hungry and I don't have much time, I'm going to go to McDonald's because that is the brand, that is the reputation that they have developed with me. But when I want to study boxing, I go to this YouTube channel called Skiller Boxing that does boxing breakdowns of boxing matches because I've paired Skiller Boxing with film study. So now when I want film study, what comes to my mind is Skiller Boxing. When I want fast food, what comes to my mind? McDonald's. When I don't ever really want innovation, but if I did for whatever reason, Apple. You want to create a reputation amongst these people so that when they think about you, they think about this, or when they think about this, they think about you. And you're watching me do this in real time. When you're thinking about the fact that you want to make money as a boxer, I want you to think about Jalen Milton. I want Jalen Milton to be paired with building a brand as a boxer. I want Jalen Milton to be paired with making money as a boxer. So when you think about the fact that, I need to make money, you'll think, I need to go to Jalen Milton. Well, I want to build my brand, I'm going to go to Jalen Milton. I'm trying to create a pairing, a reputation amongst the viewers so that they can trust me and find me reliable for this thing that they desire. I want you to pair me with what you want. So when you want this, you're going to be like, okay, well, let me go watch the Jalen Milton podcast. And so by now, the difference between a brand and a general following should be painfully obvious. And you should also understand why small brands oftentimes make more money than a medium or a large following. The same concept is why it's important to niche down when you're trying to build your brand. And if you don't know what a niche is basically having a targeted focus that you help on. For example, my niche is boxers that want to build their brand. For McDonald's, I guess they don't really have a niche, but just look at the definition of a niche. I don't really know how to explain what a niche is. I just know how to use the word. And I can tell you that this is my niche. For example, a personal trainer, there's general personal trainers that work for everybody. Then there's personal trainers who are niche to only overweight men, or personal trainers that are niche to only boxers, or personal trainers that are niche to only strength and conditioning. I don't know how to define the word, but I think by the way I've explained it, you probably understand what a niche is. And so when I had the idea to start this podcast, start building this brand within the boxing space, I actually originally thought about working with all athletes to help all athletes build their brand, because in my head I was thinking, well, if I work with all athletes, then I'll have more potential customers, which is technically true. Yes, there are more potential customers if you go general. But since I'm a boxer, I know that I could resonate more with boxers. I could go deeper in my brand with them due to an increased relatability because I relate to them. We're in the same sport. We have the same struggles. I understand what it's like being a boxer. And my content is more specific and it's more targeted, which makes it more appealing to the specific group of people that I'm trying to appeal to. Because I'm talking specifically about boxers, this feels a lot more relatable and personal to you. Now, if I was talking about general all athletes, female athletes, male athletes, short athletes, tall athletes, combat sport athletes, water polo athletes, whatever it is, it wouldn't feel as personal because I'm talking directly to other boxers, fellow boxers. It feels more personal. This is my niche, and I'm developing a stronger brand amongst this specific group of people because I can relate to them. So if you're watching this video, I'd assume you're probably a boxer because I'm targeting boxers. You might be an MMA fighter, but you still fall within the realm of combat athletes. And so if this video was titled Why Athletes Should Build a Brand Instead of a Following, rather than what it is titled, it's probably titled Why Boxers Should Build a Brand Rather Than a Following. But either way, I'm targeting a specific group of people. If it was more general, you might have ignored the video because it wouldn't have felt so personal to you. But because I made it boxers, it feels like it's calling your name. This is as close as I can get to calling your personal name as it can. For example, if your name's Alex, for example, if the video was called How Alex Could Make Money Building His Brand, you'd be like, okay, I'm Alex. That's the same effect that calling out a specific group of people has. I called out boxers. But if I just said, hey, how men can make money, you may have clicked on it, you may not have clicked on it. But the more specific you can get, the more targeted it feels and the more direct you can message people and the more called out people feel by your content. This is why it's so important to niche with building a brand. And when you target specific people with your content, that does mean that you will get less followers, but it also means that you will get the right followers. So, for example, I don't want a high school volleyball player to watch this video and inquire with me about help building her brand. I want boxers and other athletes that are trying to go professional. I don't want to work with people who just want to play sports for like the next year or two and then just be done with sports. I'm specifically trying to get to boxers that are trying to make a career out of the sport, and I don't want a bunch of followers that really aren't going to get much value from this and don't want to connect with me. So yes, I'm taking the trade-off of getting less followers because I know that I will be able to go deeper with this small amount of followers, and I can be more engaged with you guys. Like, I have a Google Doc in the description or in the pinned comment that you can fill out, and I will talk to you one-on-one and I can help you. I can't do that if I have 100,000 followers, but when I have a small few thousand followers and only a handful of people trying to engage with me, I can engage with all of them and help all of them. And it's easy because I have to help them all with the same thing. Like, if I'm only helping boxers do this one thing, that's easy. I can help a bunch of them. But if I'm trying to help a baseball player do this, and a volleyball player do that, then a golfer do this, and a wrestler do that, then I'm juggling all these different things. I'm getting overwhelmed and confused. But I help one group of people do this one thing, and it's easy. And because there's not that many people trying to do it, it's easy for me to help more people. And so that's why I think that going niche down when building your brand is the most efficient way to go. And it also means that your followers will be more attached to you. It'll be easier to sell to them because you'll be able to create a product that targets their specific need. Yes, I'm going to help you guys. I make the podcast to help you for free. I have free resources to help you guys for free. But I also want to sell paid resources because I got to make money to survive. It's not like I'm trying to scam you guys or I'm not trying to be like sleazy or anything. But this content is to help you guys and to help myself. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't feel bad saying that I want to sell you something because I'm going to sell you something that helps you. But you can see from my content, from my targeted messaging, that I will help you specifically. And so when I do decide that I want to start selling something to my audience, I have an audience, and hopefully by then I'll have an audience of a couple thousand followers. But all of these few thousand followers are all boxers trying to build their brand. It's not 100,000 random people. It's 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people that are within my niche that can benefit from my services. So when I sell you something, I know I'm not selling you some nonsense. I'm selling you something that's very specific and tailored to you and your situation. And that also means that your customers will be more satisfied with your product because your product was designed specifically for them, which means in the long run, you will make more money from this smaller brand. And some of you guys may be confused because I keep talking about selling, and you might be thinking that you don't have anything to sell or that you don't even want to sell. But the whole point of building the following or building the brand is to make money. We're not doing this for no reason. We gotta do this to support our careers. And if you guys have wives or girlfriends, whatever, you gotta support them. We aren't doing this for no reason. Like, honestly, I'm being real with you guys. If I thought I was never going to make a single dollar off of doing this, I wouldn't be doing it because it wouldn't be good for my time because I need to be able to support myself, support my career. I personally want to get married young. So I got to be ready to be a husband. So I need to be preparing myself for my future. So I don't want you guys to come on here trying to be thinking you're morally superior for not wanting to make any money. No, we're doing this to make money. And so if you don't want to create a product or create something to sell, That's okay. But this is not for you then. This is for people that are trying to make money and people that are not ashamed of saying that they want to make money. And if you just want to fight, then just fight. But if you want to fight and try to build a brand so that you could protect yourself and sustain yourselves outside of the ring and not have to fight in exchange for money and depend on fighting to pay your bills, this is the route that you should take. You could just get a job. That's more secure, I guess. But most boxers, they want to have more time to train and they don't want to go and get a normal job after they retire as pros. This is for those people. And so you could also just keep trying to make these random boxing TikToks and go viral. That's always an option. I don't recommend that one either because you're basically gambling, but you can do whatever you want to do. And so far, I've probably left you with more questions than I have left you with answers. And you might be wondering what to sell, how to build a brand, how to build the product, and more things. Next week's episode is called How to Start Building Your Brand as a Boxer. And in that episode, I will talk about that more. But for right now, I'm going to ask you a couple questions to help you start brainstorming your branding strategy. The first question is, what do you want to be known for? Here, you need to consider things that you are passionate about, but you also need to consider what you are good at. If you don't have anything that you are passionate about or good at that can be productized, you must determine something valuable that you will be willing to learn. Also, you need to ask yourself, how important is it to you that you have a brand that correlates with boxing? For example, I have a friend who's a professional boxer. I'm not going to say his name. I mean, I'm sure he would be cool with it, but I just didn't talk to him about it. But he's a professional boxer, but he also has a media company. He builds his brand around media rather than boxing. And I also have other endeavors personally that have nothing to do with boxing, such as a nonprofit organization, a youth program, and I also do media as well. If you want your brand to correlate with boxing, you will probably find success in something like personal training or boxing coaching, which can both be productized online. But if you are a professional boxer, you have a little bit more leverage because of the status of being a professional athlete versus being an amateur athlete. If you are a professional boxer, you can try to partner with nonprofits. You can try to speak in schools. If you're passionate about this, you can do youth programs too, or try to partner with sports teams like youth sports teams or whatever. But there's ways for you to make some extra money as a professional athlete. Just because you're a professional athlete, you can walk around saying, hey, I'm a professional athlete. You know, I'm not saying you're going to get these big like $10,000, $20,000 deals, but you can make a few $100s for sure if you just leverage your status as being a professional athlete. And so at the end of the day, I'm just throwing ideas out there, but I can't figure it out for you. I can't do the creative process for you. And I think you need to spend time thinking about this. And when you do make a decision, when you decide, okay, this is what I want to do, stick to it for at least 6 months. Do not start it, do it for a month or two and be like, okay, well, this doesn't work. The first month is not about making money. It's about building the foundation. The first 3 months is honestly about learning and building your foundation. The money will come after. Well, I'm not going to give you a specific timeline, but don't expect to make money right away. And if you are expecting to make money right away, expect to make a little bit of money. Not anything you can live off of, but maybe you're paying your gas off with this money, or maybe you're paying your groceries with this money. But to make enough money to be paying your rent and stuff, that's not going to happen for a little while. And so speaking of the money, you got to also ask yourself, what are your financial goals? Of course, your long-term goal should be to fully support yourself with your business, but short-term goals is what gets you to the long-term goals. Your financial goals determine how you approach a business in many ways, especially how much you price your product. And I do not think that your goal should be making $5,000 or $10,000 a month within the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I think that you should aspire to make $0 in your first month and at least $1 by the end of your third month, which to some of you guys might think that sounds ridiculous, but hear me out for a second. The online business space is very competitive. And those who desire to make quick success, they get humbled really fast. In my opinion, you should forget about making thousands of dollars within the first 3 months. Your goal should be to make $1. The reason why I said your goal should be to make $1 is because that $1 will show you that it is possible. The first dollar will open your eyes to the potential of the business. And if you spend that first 90 days building the foundation and you're being patient, that will set you up for success. After you make that first dollar, I don't know how to explain it, but it will just change your mindset. And once you get that first dollar, you can start setting the higher goals. And honestly, in my opinion, if you make $1 in the first 90 days, it's unlikely that you'll actually only make $1 within the whole 90 days. But the point is, making $1 is significantly more beneficial than making $0. While of course it's only a $1 difference, the mindset that you have after making $1 versus making $0 will change the way you approach business, and it will just give you a whole new sense of motivation. Because if I can make this $1 10,000 more times, I'm gonna be okay. Like, it's just, you will understand. Just make that first dollar within 90 days. If you don't make it if you don't make $1 within the first 90 days, you're going to be very discouraged. You got to make $1. And that means that you're going to have to sell your product for a lot lower than you want to. But the point is to get $1 in your pocket from this. That will change your mindset. And if you think I'm full of crap, that's okay. Just trust me on this one. Just trust me on it. I know you might want to make this cool product and sell it for $500 or $1,000. No, just sell it for $20, $25, $1. Whatever you're going to do, make that $1. There's definitely more that you need to think about besides just those 3 questions, but I believe that those 3 questions will help at least point you in the right direction. I don't want this podcast to be like a full class or lecture or anything. I just want this to give you guys a foundational understanding of building a brand. And so before the episode ends, I want to talk about the cons of building a brand. And so I would say that there's actually no real cons to building a brand. There's only superficial cons. And by superficial cons, I mean that these cons don't actually affect your success. But the con is that building a brand may not feed your ego as much as building a following. For example, when I talk about building a brand, I'm talking about building a brand of a few thousand followers, like between 2,000 and 20,000 followers, but nothing crazy. Many boxers, they want fame, they want to be under the lights, but less than 1% of us will ever make it to that level. So when you try to take the route of building a brand instead of building a following, you don't have as much fame or as much to flex about. You don't get to go around saying, oh, I have 100,000 followers and I'm verified and I'm this and I'm that. And that's not a problem to someone who's mature, and I'm not trying to offend you guys or anything, but if you're just worried about being the most followed or having the nicest car, that's honestly either you're immature or you're insecure, and both of them are problems. And so the route of building a brand is not a route that leads to fame or glory most of the time, but it is the route that leads to security. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish for myself, and that's what I'm trying to encourage you to desire for yourself, is security. Not looking like wealth, but actually having it. Not looking like, just not trying to look the part. It's not about the image. It's about knowing that, okay, if I can't fight, I'm not going to go broke. If my wife needs something, I can give it to her. Like that's what I'm trying to accomplish for myself, and that's what I'm trying to encourage you guys to want to accomplish. And so my dream as a boxer is still to be a world champion, and that means that if I get to that world championship level, I can be expecting to make hundreds of thousands per fight, maybe even millions per fight. Like, I want to get to that level. But if I never make it big in boxing, I'm trying to build a brand that can provide the lifestyle that I want to live, and that's not a luxurious lifestyle. Even if that doesn't include being a star in the sport of boxing, I just want to be financially secure. I know that I'm confident in myself. I know that my wife does not have to work. Like, that's the type of lifestyle I want to create for myself. And you got to ask yourself, what type of lifestyle do you want to create? And if you want to live the lifestyle of driving fast cars, you want to live in Miami, whatever, you need to be honest about that with yourself. You don't got to go say it to the whole world, but be honest with yourself about what you want. Do you want the finer things? Do you want this nice, lavish lifestyle? Or are you okay with a more modest lifestyle? Because if you want the modest lifestyle, then you can for sure get that not easily, very difficultly. But if you work hard, you can achieve that with your brand, definitely within the 5 years. But if you want to live that multi-millionaire lifestyle, you got to be honest with yourself about that. You need to act accordingly to that, and you need to work on building a brand that is going to be scaled to way bigger heights than what I'm talking about. But that's neither here nor there. If you want to make money outside the ring and build a brand that feeds you and pays your bills, and you are willing to take a year, 2 years to build that, then this is the route that you should take, and you should keep staying tuned to the podcast so I can help you achieve that. And I'm also achieving it for myself. I'm not saying I have all these things, but this is the direction I'm going in, and I can make a reasonable assumption that I'm going to achieve this because I've made a plan for myself. And if you want to talk to me or you want to receive free resources, fill out the Google form in the description or in the pinned comment. That I will reach out to you and I will send you the free resources that will help you, point you in the right direction. And we may even be able to talk one-on-one if you would like to. If you got any value out of this podcast, please stay tuned and subscribe, and stay tuned for next week's episode about how to start building your brand as a boxer.